Where all my Billy Clan members at? Watching for the days of fashion, tuning in from day to day. Wondering what Billy doing next. Fashion, money, stacks and stacks. Go get y'all, let go, y'all. Back to day 25. Day 25. Day 25. Hey guys, today we're going to be introducing a new series or sub-series to our overarching series, which is 40 Days of Fashion. Okay, period. Y'all already know what's up. Y'all already know what's up. If y'all been following since day one, y'all will know that today is day 25. Day 25, chickadees. We have like 15 more days of 40 Days of Fashion, and it's gonna go bye-bye, but it's okay because we're gonna still keep it coming. We still gonna keep the content coming. Okay. Disclaimer, I gotta give my little checklist about what y'all tasks are to do by the end of this video. The first one is to make sure y'all like. Okay? If you like the vibe, you like the energy, you see me, I see you. And you see me, I see you. Make sure you like. Make sure you speak to me. Okay? Okay? Make sure you comment. If you like this video and you want other people to see the video, because you think it applies to them in any way, shape, or form, make sure that you share the video. But most importantly, if you want to see continuous content like this and vibes like this, make sure that you subscribe. Okay, that's the checklist that I want y'all to have done by the end of this video. Okay, the class is in session. The first lesson today is the importance of interfacing. I know y'all probably heard of interfacing before. Y'all may have seen it before. We used it in the beginning where we made the buttons and the buttonholes. But interfacing is a non-woven material that is applied to fabrics to give it strength and shape and stabilize certain areas. Interfacing also provides support to those areas and to fabrics in general. For example, with the buttons, it provided support for those buttonholes because that fabric was going to be warping and bending and folding with the fabric, well, with the threads around it and being open, that like part of the fabric being open. So you didn't want it to be susceptible to folding over time. And you wanted that buttonhole to maintain its horizontal or vertical orientation. There's two types of interfacing. The first type is fusible interfacing. That is what we used in our buttonholes video, where we took some interfacing and I put it on the back of the fabric. I used my iron, I pressed it on to the fabric and it adhered. So fusible interfacing is able to adhere to fabrics because there is a resin, and that resin melts when heat is applied by the iron, and that molds the fabric to the interfacing piece. Another type of interfacing is non-fusible interfacing. So this is the interfacing that is sewn. It's commonly used in couture wear. And like I forgot to mention that fusible interfacing is more so used for cuffs and waistbands, things like that need to be require extra reinforcement, stability, support. So when selecting interfacing, it's very important to make sure you analyze the weight of the fabric and the type of fabric it is. So if we're dealing with a silk or a chiffon, we're going to need a lightweight interfacing to match that lightweight fabric. If we're dealing with a cotton poly blend or a wool, we're going to need a heavier weighted interfacing to support it. It has to match or like be in the same width group or range, because think about it, if you put a heavyweight fabric, if you put a heavyweight interfacing on a chiffon or an organza fabric, that fabric is going to sag. It's going to slump, and that will affect function and aesthetics. Same thing with if we were to apply a lightweight interfacing to a heavyweight fabric. The interfacing will not be strong enough to support the fabric. So say for instance, back to our button, I'm going to use that throughout this video, our button situation. If I had a heavy duty fabric, okay, and I applied a lightweight fusible interfacing to the buttons on whatever garment I was making, a jacket for instance, the buttonholes will not be able to be supported. The interfacing will start to wear down and deteriorate much quicker than the fabric itself. And because it will lose its function, it will be overworked in a way, and it won't be able to continue to hold that stability. And over time, like depending on how long the person keeps the garment, the buttonholes will begin to sag and look disoriented. So that's why it's important to make sure you use the correct interfacing for your fabrics. So like I mentioned, interfacing is commonly used on areas such as like the placket, the collar, the cuffs, waistbands, and more. Just other areas that require a lot of stability, and also the body parts of the fabric, body parts, i.e. buttonholes. It's also found on the inside part of a jacket, like a suit jacket, to keep that front panel able to flip and flop and kind of keep that shape. Because it also, like I said, when we talk about using interfacing as a shaping mechanism, I know there's other ones like boning and horsehair boning, but particularly when we're talking about interfacing as a shaping tool, interfacing, its stability and its like stiffness allows the fabric that's attached to it to be able to be warped and folded into a certain way. So with that, the facing of the fabric, when you apply the correct weighted and correct fabric, when you apply the correct weighted and the correct interfacing to that facing, it will allow the facing fabric to be able to fold over and stay that way for like the lapel and the collar support for jackets. And without that, we can't have that. And boning cannot do that. Okay, so like you were to use boning, of course, when it's a shaping device used in fashion, you know, for corsets and things like that. But if we were to use that for our facing to keep the lapel in shape, that would not hold well in the long term. Okay, so that's why we have to use the interfacing, keep it folded back, stay folded back. Sewing interfacing requires special techniques to stitch it onto it. There'll kind of be like some crosses on the back of the interfacing to adhere the interfacing to the fabric. And that's for many reasons. Like I said, it's commonly used for couture. So those strategic and meticulous tasks, the sewing and everything has to be done to make sure that the garment is able to be well supported and stabilized in that particular area depending on where it's used. I have yet to work with sew-in interfacing, but I do plan on experimenting with it in the future, because eventually the things that we don't experience, we're going to actually end up having to experience sometime later on. So, you know, it's not here yet, but that time will be coming. Okay guys, so that's the end of the lesson. It's quiz time. We want to see who's been paying attention. Okay. What are the two types of interfacing? If you said fusible and sew-in, you are correct. True, false. You do not need to double check the weight of the interfacing to make sure it matches the fabric weight. If you said true, you're correct. True, false. Fusible interfacing is applied with sewing needles and thread. If you answered false, you are correct. What type of clothing is sew-in interfacing commonly used? If you said couture, you're correct. Two more questions, guys. Two more questions. What are the common places that interfacing is used? If you said cuff, waistband, collar, placket, etc., you are correct. So it's given that y'all are geniuses, like y'all are sewing geniuses. Y'all can teach me stuff. Like this is my lesson, but like it's given that since y'all answer those questions so correctly, y'all can teach me some things. And you know, I don't know everything, so class is in session with you too. Teach me a few things. But for real, like, great job, guys. If y'all answer all the questions correctly, even if you didn't answer all the questions correctly, that's okay. Learning is a process, okay? If you need to, go back to the beginning, watch the video all the way through, and then you'll be able to answer the questions with flying colors. Let me know what y'all answers are and y'all responses are in the comments. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and end the video right here. I like the way you do that right there. I like the way you do that right there. And I thank y'all for watching, and come back for day 26 tomorrow.